In today's globalized world, the most powerful weapon is not always a missile, a tank, or a fighter jet. It's the ability to control the narrative. The way information is framed, the stories that are told, and the images that are projected can shape entire geopolitical landscapes. In the realm of global politics, especially in the Middle East, Mohammad Marandi stands as a towering figure who has honed the craft of narrative warfare. His strategic use of media, intellectual clarity, and deep understanding of international relations make him one of the most potent forces in countering the Western mainstream narrative, particularly when it comes to Iran and the broader Middle East. The concept of narrative power, or the ability to control the stories that define nations and people, is one of the most underappreciated tools in modern geopolitics. It's not just about the facts, it's about how those facts are presented, who tells the story, and what purpose that story serves. Throughout history, empires have used the media as a tool to justify wars, subjugate populations, and maintain power. The West, led by the United States, has been particularly effective at crafting a narrative that positions itself as the savior of global peace, democracy, and human rights. But these narratives, while compelling, are often deeply flawed, and they serve the interests of the powerful while silencing alternative perspectives. Marandi has spent much of his career deconstructing these Western narratives and presenting an alternative truth that counters the often one-sided portrayal of Iran and the Middle East. His insights, deeply rooted in both academic understanding and personal experience, have made him a formidable opponent in the battle for public opinion. In a world where media can make or break a nation's reputation, Marandi's ability to expose the falsehoods embedded in Western media's portrayal of Iran is one of the most powerful aspects of his influence. The Western media's portrayal of Iran and its role in the Middle East has been historically skewed, often presenting the country as the villain in a complex geopolitical story. Iran is regularly depicted as a state sponsor of terrorism, a rogue state, and a destabilizing force in the region. From the hostage crisis in 1979 to the ongoing nuclear tensions, Iran's actions have been framed through a lens of suspicion and hostility. In this narrative, Iran is the aggressor, and the West, along with its allies in the region, positions itself as the defender of peace and democracy. Marandi's deep understanding of the Western media's influence on global opinion allows him to challenge these portrayals. He has consistently pointed out how the media, both in the US and across Europe, uses selective reporting to craft a narrative that favors Western interests. He does this not just by exposing what is false, but by reframing the story to provide a broader, more nuanced perspective. For example, when Western media focuses on Iran's support for groups like Hezbollah or its involvement in conflicts like Syria, they often do so without contextualizing Iran's actions within the broader historical and political dynamics of the Middle East. The US and its allies, in contrast, often support factions that engage in similar actions. Yet these groups are presented in a far more sympathetic light. Marandi's ability to highlight this hypocrisy is one of his greatest strengths. He doesn't simply defend Iran's actions. He questions the very foundation of the Western narrative that justifies intervention, occupation, and support for authoritarian regimes across the Middle East. He points out that Iran's involvement in Syria, for instance, is not an unprovoked act of aggression, but a response to the US-led intervention that has destabilized the region. He emphasizes that Iran has a vested interest in protecting its borders and ensuring the survival of the Syrian state, which is crucial for maintaining the balance of power in the region. By exposing the selective outrage of the West and its allies, Marandi dismantles the simplistic narrative of Iran as the sole villain in a region where multiple actors are complicit in the same kinds of geopolitical maneuvering. Marandi's media strategy is both defensive and offensive. On the defensive side, he seeks to correct the falsehoods propagated by Western media. He does this by providing context, challenging assumptions, and directly confronting Western journalists and pundits in interviews and debates. His intellectual rigor and mastery of facts allow him to engage with Western media on equal terms, presenting Iran's actions in a way that undermines the simplistic and often misleading portrayals of the country. But Marandi is also offensive in his approach. He does not simply react to Western narratives. He actively shapes a counter-narrative. His presence on international media outlets and his participation in global debates serve not only to challenge the dominant narrative, but to construct a new one that reflects Iran's perspective on its role in the Middle East. By doing so, Marandi seeks to reclaim the narrative that has been taken from Iran for decades. He has become a key figure in the effort to present an Iranian perspective that is grounded in historical context and international law, rather than one defined by the self-interests of Western powers. Marandi's media appearances are not just performances for the Iranian audience. They are carefully crafted attempts to reach global viewers, especially those in the global south, who may be more sympathetic to Iran's struggle against Western hegemony. His arguments, while rooted in Iranian experiences and values, often resonate with those in countries that have experienced the consequences of Western imperialism, whether through economic exploitation, military intervention, or cultural dominance. By positioning Iran as part of a broader resistance against Western dominance, Marandi taps into a shared history of exploitation and oppression. One of Marandi's most effective strategies is his ability to turn Western concepts against the West itself. He is a master of intellectual warfare, using the very language of Western politics to critique and expose its contradictions. For example, the US and its allies frequently promote democracy and human rights as core principles of their foreign policy. Yet Marandi points out the glaring discrepancies in how these values are applied. He highlights the double standards in Western foreign policy, how countries like Saudi Arabia, which have questionable human rights records, receive unwavering support from the West, while Iran is vilified for actions that are, in many cases, no different from those taken by other US allies. Marandi questions the legitimacy of the West's claims to uphold democracy when its actions often support authoritarian regimes that maintain power through oppression and violence. Marandi's ability to use Western intellectual frameworks, such as liberalism, human rights, and international law, against the West is a key aspect of his intellectual power. He does not reject these values outright. Instead, he demonstrates how the West's actions contradict its professed values, making its rhetoric hollow and self-serving. This approach resonates with people who are increasingly skeptical of Western interventions and the self-righteous moralizing that accompanies them. One of the most insidious aspects of Western propaganda is its ability to shape perceptions by framing entire regions and peoples in a certain light. Marandi has become adept at countering this by shifting the psychological battle. Rather than focusing solely on military or economic resistance, he engages in a battle of minds. He forces Western audiences to question the narratives they have been fed, to examine the underlying motivations behind the media and political rhetoric that shapes their views on Iran and the Middle East. Marandi's ability to expose the psychological manipulation behind Western media campaigns is a critical part of his intellectual arsenal. He shows how Iran is portrayed as a monolithic, dangerous enemy, a tactic designed to dehumanize the Iranian people and justify actions against the country. By humanizing Iran and presenting a nuanced picture of its people, history, and culture, Marandi counters the dehumanizing portrayals that are often used to justify sanctions, military interventions, and diplomatic isolation. Marandi's efforts go beyond just counteracting Western propaganda. He is actively shaping global public opinion. Through his media presence and participation in international dialogues, Marandi is not only speaking to an Iranian audience, but to a global one. His arguments resonate with people around the world who are frustrated with Western dominance and the hypocrisy of its foreign policy. In this sense, Marandi is not just defending Iran. He is defending the rights of countries in the global south to chart their own course without interference from Western powers. His success lies in his ability to frame Iran's struggle as part of a broader global resistance to Western imperialism. He understands that the battle for global influence is not just fought in boardrooms and on battlefields, but in the minds of the people. By presenting Iran as a nation that stands up for its sovereignty, dignity, and rights, Marandi makes Iran's cause one that is deeply humanitarian, a cause that resonates with people who believe in the power of nations to determine their own future. The power of narrative is undeniable, and Mohammad Marandi has proven to be one of the most effective challenges to Western propaganda in the 21st century. His ability to expose the contradictions, hypocrisies, and selective application of values in Western foreign policy has made him a formidable intellectual force. Marandi does not just react to Western narratives. He actively reframes the conversation, presenting an Iranian perspective that challenges the global status quo. Through his mastery of media, his deep understanding of international relations, and his intellectual clarity, Marandi has become a key figure in the fight for the truth. A fight that goes beyond geopolitics and into the very heart of how the world perceives power, justice, and truth. As the global balance of power shifts, Marandi's influence is likely to grow. His ability to dismantle Western narratives with intellectual precision, to expose the lies that underlie international relations, and to present an alternative vision of the world makes him one of the most dangerous figures to the West today. His intellectual prowess is a weapon that cannot be ignored, and in the realm of global politics, it is one of the most powerful forces in shaping the future.